The first time my name ever really meant anything outside of my own head, it was a joke. The video lasted 52 seconds, shot by my cousin Claudia on her ancient phone, and it caught me in the gravel yard outside our apartment building in Tlatelolco, camera in trembling hands, making all these wild hand gestures, passionate and half yelling at my best friend Rodrigo as we pretended a soda bottle was a spaceship. I didn't hear about it until 2 days later, when the notification count on my phone jumped up so high it slowed down everything else. The whole neighborhood saw it. Me, 20 years old, thick glasses sliding down my nose, shirt 3 days unwashed, ranting about vision and cinema and yelling "cut," while the local kids cackled in the background. Someone had added a tinny overlay of mariachi horns and big yellow letters, El Director del Fracaso. That was the header for days. My WhatsApp blew up like a bad joke. I, Steven Spielberg. Dia Rosa wrote under one of my mother's posts, adding 3 crying laugh emojis. Someone else, my own brother Edgar, posted a TikTok of himself imitating my gestures, flailing and stomping through the living room in an oversized bathrobe, translating my most intense lines into plain, exasperated Spanish. Within hours, people from all over the colonia sent me clips. Even the guy at the corner torta stand snickered, "Oye, Scorsese, ¿quieres jalapeños hoy?" I thought I could handle the laughter. But there's something gutting about walking into your own mother's kitchen and watching her show your little video, still looped and pixelating, to an ant, both of them barely suppressing giggles while pretending at composure. "Ignore them," Rodrigo said the next morning, passing me a coffee. "People always mock what they don't get." "That only matters if I get it," I muttered, barely tasting the sugar. "What about that film school idea?" he asked. I had already failed the entrance exam to SUAC the year before, and the bitterness was as fresh as the spilt cold milk on the counter. Even with my grades, my cobbled-together short films, nothing seemed enough. Nobody we knew had ever made movies for a living. At best, they knew people who held light stands or cleaned sets, or boasted about an uncle who'd gotten his name in the credits rolling at the bottom of a telenovela. My mom's patience ran out at dinner that Sunday. The table crowded with aunts, cousins, and leftover tamales. It was Edgar who couldn't hold it in. "Ándale, Chris Nolan," he laughed. "When you win an Oscar, invite us, eh?" I kept my eyes low, but my mom's voice was stern, sharp as a blade disguised in a tortilla. "There is nothing wrong with dreams, but dreaming without working is just playing pretend, hijos." She looked at me then, and her lips pressed thin. "You all that camera nonsense is nice, but surely you see that the whole world is not about you. Time to look for a real job." I wanted to tell her that this was the real work. The hours spent editing footage on my battered laptop, the scripts scribbled on the backs of bus receipts, studying old films traced from Bogota to Buenos Aires on cheap streaming sites. But nothing came out, so I stared at my rice and nodded. At night, though, alone on the cold roof, where the city glowed and moaned far below, the anger felt almost pure. If I closed my eyes and listened hard enough, I could nearly believe in another world, one where I was more than a punchline, where the camera in my hands meant possibility and not shame. In those empty hours, the pain curdled into a new kind of clarity. For the next 2 years, nothing really changed. My mornings started with deliveries for Don Paco's hardware store, lugging cement bags and paint cans up and down potholed sidewalks, sweat bleeding through my shirt. School was out of reach. The money never stretched far enough, and any savings drained away into bills or groceries before I could blink. Rodrigo and I still filmed scraps when we could borrow someone's camera. A birthday party, an amateur rapper's music video, a short documentary about the calaveras makers in Mixquic. Half of them disappeared into the endless void of old hard drives. Once, we tried to submit something to a film festival, scraping the entry fee off days of tips and small sacrifices, only to watch our effort return unread, rejected by a faceless committee. Each rejection, each mocking action hurled from the corner tienda left something hollow inside me. There were silent fights with my mother when she'd walk in to find me editing instead of job searching, her disappointment a dull, familiar ache in the air. Even Rodrigo started drifting. Graphic design paid just enough, while filmmaking paid nothing at all. I barely noticed when the first hints of opportunity slunk in. It started, as embarrassments often do, with another video. This one wasn't mine. Someone in the city government wanted a social media profile about young Mexicans trying to change their neighborhoods. Rodrigo submitted my name without asking. I showed up for the interview, greasy-haired and squinting. I thought it was just more humiliation until, 2 weeks later, an editor from a small community magazine emailed me. They needed a 4-minute film about resilience in Tlatelolco. Condition: no budget, no actors, no special equipment. I almost said no. Instead, I called in every favor I had. Kids from the building played soccer against graffiti-stained walls, while a neighbor in her 90s recited fragments of old poems to my phone's shaking lens. I cut it together on borrowed time, pouring everything I had into the frantic night. The next month, the magazine shared it. A handful of comments called it honest or beautifully sad. Most ignored it. But one message arrived from a stranger freelance producer with connections to 2 independent funders. "There's heart here. Do you have anything longer you want to make?" I did. For years, I'd nursed a script about a garbage collector who dares to break into the silent, golden world of art museums, the story my father always half told us at bedtime. I sent it, bracing for another shut door. Instead, I received a tentative offer, small funding, no promises, but enough to shoot for a weekend or 2. Not in some far-off dream city, but here, in our battered, laughing neighborhood. The next 6 months were pure chaos. Everyone thought I was out of my mind. The neighbors laughed as we staged scenes in the alleys, coaxing my cousin's boyfriend into playing the shy, hopeful janitor. Rodrigo handled sound. 2 of Edgar's school friends helped with lights, improvising reflectors out of old pizza boxes. I paid them in tacos and gratitude, negotiating a wobbly peace between pride and desperation. My mother said nothing at dinners anymore. Her eyes slid away from mine in resignation. Edgar avoided me. Sometimes I caught Claudia filming our awkward attempts from a window, another silent mockery for social media consumption. But in those hazy afternoons, filming golden light through cracked windows, I found something I didn't expect. There was joy between takes, when neighbors craned from their balconies to watch my hero sweep dust with quiet dignity. Or when kids ran through the frame on their scooters and made us all break character. We worked until our bodies ached, until the city cooled and shimmered under evening's glow. The film came together in gasping, fragile fragments, stitched by nerves and laughter. By the time I finished editing, sleep-deprived and shaking, it was autumn. I submitted Barrendero en el Muro to every small festival with a free entry form, half believing, half resentful. Rodrigo left for a better job in Puebla. My mother stopped asking. Just nodded tiredly each evening when I shuffled into the kitchen for reheated beans. 3 months later, while unpacking light bulbs at Don Bacos, the email arrived. Festival Internacional de Cine Independiente de Oaxaca. Official selection. When I showed my mother, she frowned and asked if they'd paid for my trip. I pawned my phone, begged a discount bus seat, and arrived in Oaxaca 5 hours late, nerves clawing at my stomach. I watched other films. and for the first time, felt a rage not at the world, but at myself. Were these really so different from mine? Was I fooling myself, or was I just late? My film played in a cramped side hall, 27 seats, none of them occupied by anyone I knew. I waited for the embarrassed silence, the awkward applause that belonged to polite strangers. But halfway through, someone laughed, gasped, clapped. An old man wiped away tears at the ending. After, someone approached me, a festival judge, dark hair pulled tightly back. She asked about my process. My impossible resources, how I'd made beauty from so little. I answered honestly, desperation, fear, hope. The film won Best Local Story. The prize was small, just enough money to make rent for 2 months and a plaque engraved with my trembling name. But that night, I called my mother from a noisy hostel and tried to tell her what it meant. She just said, "Congratulations. Will you still be home for Christmas?"